Hello everybody, I am here with a tutorial video. This thing you're looking at on the screen right now is a YouTube video of the Fusion 360 for Woodworkers Part 2. And this was the original guy that did it, but obviously we're going to try and do this on our own without him and see if that helps to answer a few more questions. But this is what we're going to be drawing today, and hopefully that looks like a woodworking project to you. That's a bookshelf, and so we'll kind of talk about how to do that and everything in this video. So this is your assignment. I'll have a YouTube video on here and then kind of like a little answer key so you know what you're going to be turning in and all that good stuff. But basically, I redrew it here just so that we could have the dimensions. I know you guys don't like SketchUp. You've made that very clear. And so we're going to use Fusion to try to draw this. So your Fusion is probably located on your desktop screen. I've got a little link down there for mine. And we'll bring this back to life and just kind of start talking about it. So it's got these two sides here, and they're 3/4 inch. Everything in here is 3/4 of an inch except for this back piece. And then it's 3/4 by 12.5 by 55. And so we could make that, if we were actually going to make this in the shop, we could make this out of real wood or plywood. You know, plywood's going to be much easier because it's already in these big pieces. If you chose to make this out of real wood, you'd have to glue it up and all that good stuff, but definitely doable. And so we're going to draw one of these sides first, and hopefully you guys realize that every real piece of wood has 3 dimensions. It has a thickness, a width, and a length. And we could choose any 2 of these in order to start our drawing. So we could go 12.5 by 3/4, we could go 12.5 by 55, or we could go 55 by 3/4. Really doesn't matter, but we could choose any 2 of them to start our sketch. And so you guys did a little bit in Fusion. So this is what it looks like when I first open it. I don't need that screen right now, so I'm going to X that out. I like to check this eyeball here on origin so that it pops back and comes back to life so that I can see it. And so then I can know where I'm starting my drawing. And if you guys followed along in the first video, basically what Fusion is set up to do is that you start with a sketch where you draw it 2-dimensionally. And that's this right here. And then you extrude it and make it 3-dimensional. And so when we start this sketch, again, we can choose any 3 dimensions that we want, really. I'm going to choose this one, okay, and that's the bottom one. And so I'm only going to, I've already clicked on Create a Sketch. Now I'm going to click here, and then it kind of snaps me into that in order to, you know, create this drawing, if you will. All right? And so that's what we're trying to do. And so because we chose the top view, we're going to be drawing the 12.5 by 3/4 inch rectangle. And just like if you were drawing with a pencil and paper, there's a lot of ways to do this. What we're going to do to make it kind of the easiest is we're going to use this rectangle tool, right? And so I'm going to start it right here on the origin. I'm going to click once, and I'm going to start dragging it out. And the first thing that I notice right off the bat is in this drawing, it's in millimeters. And that's not where we want to be. So I'm going to hit Escape, and I'm going to come over here to Document Settings, click this arrow, got my units, click right there, and I can go over here and I can change my units there. So I'm going to go to inches and hit OK. Go back to the rectangle and then start over again. There's a lot of ways to do a sketch in Fusion. So while I'm still drawing, this rectangle is still active. All I've done is clicked once. I can actually start typing in dimensions right now. And so that would be my thickness, and then I would hit Tab, and then I would go over here, and that is 12.5. And you can see now that my rectangle is kind of already ready to go. It's dimensioned, right? And I could hit Enter, and now I've got my, or I could have just clicked either way, I've got that rectangle all closed. And that's really all we need to do right now. So I can hit Finish Sketch. I'm going to go up here to this home icon, right? And so what I did now was I created kind of the top-down view of just this rectangle that you see right here. And now I want to extrude that up, not 55 3/4, that goes all the way to this top, so just short of that. And so that's 55. All right, so now I'm going to go over here. You can either click E on your keyboard for extrude, or you can click right here. We're going to drag that up, and we want that at 55 inches, and I can hit Enter. All right, and so that is now made, and if I hit this arrow right here. It drops down the bodies that I've created so far. So let's go over here and right click that, and we're going to go down to rename, and we're going to call that shelf side and hit enter. And now I've kind of labeled this part here, right? And so now that part of our drawing is now done. And we need to kind of start creating some shelves and things like that. But first things first is, let's look at this bottom shelf. We'll start right there on the bottom. And it is 6 inches up from the bottom. And then it is still 12.5 deep. It goes all the way to the back. And 29 inches long in between these uprights. So the first thing we have to think about is we'd like to draw that rectangle kind of in this area. But it's kind of a little bit tricky to do in Fusion in order to reference that. And so if I were to draw right here, that's going to be a little confusing. We actually want a plane that's a little bit higher. And so we're going to go up here to construct, and we want to construct an offset plane, right? So which plane does it need to be parallel to? It needs to be parallel to this one. And then we want it to be 6 inches off of, kind of up from that one. So we hit that right there, and now we're going to create a new sketch. We're going to make it on that new plane that we already kind of drew there. All right, and so we know that it's 12.5. So I hit R for a rectangle, and it's not referencing this bottom, this other side that I already drew. So I'm going to hit escape, and to bring this to life, we're going to hit the P key, right? And that's project. And we need to use this line that was buried. So I click on that once. It says I have one thing selected, and that was that right there. And I can just hit OK. All right, now let's go back and get our rectangle. You can see these little purple circles. That means I can use those now. And for this one, we want it to be 29. Then I hit Tab over to this one, and we want it to be 12.5. So I'm locked in there, and I can hit Enter. There's that rectangle. I can hit Finish Sketch, then the Home, and we need to make that 3/4 thick. So I'm going to hit E on the keyboard, tell it which way I want it to go, then I'm going to hit 0.75 and Enter. And now this is created. But I just did something. When I extruded that, it made it a part of this side. And I don't really want that, because every time we're drawing with a program, we want to make these as if they were separate pieces of wood. There's no way just to fuse two pieces of wood together like they were one, especially in this relationship. So let's go back down here and hit Edit, or excuse me, right click it, and then hit Edit. And right here for the operation, when I pulled that up, pushed that up 0.75, it wanted to join them to what we already had. And really, we want that to be a new body. Right? So I'm going to change that, and now I'm going to hit OK. And you can see now that it's separated. And so let's go ahead and right click on that, then hit rename, and we'll call that just shelf. All right, and so now we're kind of cooking here. We got the bottom going, we need to get the side over here, and so we're going to make a copy of that. So in order to make that copy, we go over here to shelf side, we right click on it, and we want to move or copy. So we come over here, we get all these options, and the first thing that we want to make sure that we do is we want to create a copy, not just move it, so we're creating a copy of it. And then if I look at this, I want to drag it out this way, right? That makes sense. And it's asking me to give a dimension, so let's try typing 29, right? But I zoom in, and I can see then, so right now to get this to orbit like this, I'm pushing in on the scroll wheel and holding the Shift key on my keyboard. And what that's showing me is that the side is kind of overlapping the shelf. So we actually need it to go 3/4 more. We can go over here and then add the 3/4, and now we can see it's out past there just the way we want it to be. And I can hit OK, and now we're good to go there. All right, and so now what we need to do is draw the, where did our drawing go? Let's draw the top on there, and that's 30.5 by 12.5, and it sits on top of the sides. So we don't need to create a new plane for this because we can actually use the top of these. So we're going to say create a new sketch, and we want to be right on this top edge of our bookshelf. So we're good to go there now. I'm not sure. I might have to wake these back up. Let's try. So I hit rectangle, And that did lock in there for me, but it did not lock in there. So I need to hit escape to get out of that. We're going to go back and hit the P key and say that we want to wake that up and this. We have two of those just to make sure. And we can go back up here and click rectangle, there to there, and my sketch is finished already for that one. And now I need to push pull this up. So I hit extrude up here, select this surface, tell it I want to go that way, and I want to then type in 0.75. And again, I don't want to join these sides. I want this to be a new body. So new body, and hit OK. And now let's right click on this, rename it, and we'll call it top, enter. Oh, we have a little mistake there. I missed that. So let's see if we can edit that. We'll go back down here. And we'll kind of orbit over here. And when I selected the profile, I just forgot to get this rectangle too. So then I click on that and add it to this selection, and then hit OK. Now we're good again. There we go. So now our top is on. Now we want to make some copies like we did before. And we already have this one, and we want to make 3 more copies going up to this top piece right here. Alright, so we're back here to make a copy. And so what we want to do now is we're going to hit create. And we've got some different things we can do, but what we're looking for is the pattern. And this might look a little confusing because we're not really going to do a rectangle, but that's the one we're going to select for now. So we're going to do a rectangle pattern, right? And we're going to do bodies. That's good. And we're going to select the shelf body, okay? And then the axis is saying, okay, which way do you want to make this copy? Well, I want it to go up, right? And so let's have it go up that way. Oops, I just selected a second one. I don't want to do that. Let's get back out of that. Select this. I forgot to click on axis first. Then we go over here and select this edge. And you can see that we're telling it to go up the way we want now. Okay? And we want to include this space all the way up to this. And so instead of typing, just 4, like that's how many we want, we're actually going to go with a 5th. And we want to move this all the way up until it's perfectly on the top up there. All right? And so we could change this and go to spacing or extents or things like that, however you want to do it. But really what we're trying to do is line that up right on top up there. And that looks perfect at 49 inches. But what you could also do is if you're not sure if it's a weird number, instead of a direction, you could actually go like to an object, right? But this is easy enough for us just to go right to this one right here. And that's exactly what we want it to be, except we don't really need this top one, right? So let's go ahead and check this box that says suppression. And then all these little boxes come up where these little check boxes are. And what you can do is turn off any copy you want. So I could turn off this one and this one or whatever I wanted to do. And really all we want to do is just uncheck that top copy, right? And so then we are good to go there. We can hit OK. And we've got these copies of all of our other shelves. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's check and see how we did there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would say that we are good to go. All right. Now we need to add a back to this. So let's go over here to our orbit thing, and I'll just click right back there. Now I'm at the back of this. We need to create a new sketch. And we want it right on the back of one of these edges. Doesn't really matter which one, back of one of them. Okay, and I suspect that when I go to hit this rectangle, it's not going to recognize all these all that well. So I need to hit escape, and I'm going to hit P. And I'm just going to say, you know what, I want to be able to use this edge, this, my whole outside, just to be sure. Oops. Whoops, don't need that. Just the bottom. There we go. Unclick that surface. I don't need that. Just want this line. There we go. That gets me to a total of 8. And now I'll have lots to work with here when I go to draw my rectangle. So I got my rectangle tool. I want to be up in that corner, all the way to the bottom corner. Finish sketch, click on home. Let's go to this back corner a little bit. We can hit E on our keyboard for extrusion. And we want to do that surface, that surface. Looks like we got them all. Okay. And we want to take that out. We don't want to join. We want a new body. And we're just going to do that 1/4 of an inch, so 0.25, and hit OK. You can see that just makes this back kind of like a thin 1/4 inch piece of plywood here. Alright, and then the last thing that we need to add is the little kind of kick plate down here. And that's a 1/2 inch in from the front. It's 3/4 thick, and it goes all the way up to this bottom shelf and then over to this other side. Alright, so we can do a couple of things. I think probably the easiest way to do this would be to create a new sketch. We want to be on this inside wall of that, okay? And now that kind of blocked us. It's hard to see, right? So I'm going to hold down Shift on my keyboard, push in on my scroll wheel, and I can, even though I'm drawing on this surface, I can still kind of orbit my camera and draw from this perspective. And so I'm going to hit Line, and I want my first line to be a construction line. So after I hit that, I'm going to go over and select that, starting from the origin, and I want to go in 0.5 and hit Enter, and I've got that line locked in there. And now I'm going to draw another line, but I don't want it to be construction. Alright, and I want to go up 6, totally vertically. And then I want to go this way, 0.75, and back down 6. And then I want to connect those pieces. So I should have that surface pop up, and I do. That's exactly what we want. And finish sketch, click extrusion, get just that board, pull it over there. And let's say that we can't remember how wide this is. Instead of going a distance, we can go to an object. And I orbit around and I say, I want you to go to that surface. I don't want to join, I want to create a new body. And I can hit OK. And then over here, let's rename that one, and we'll call it Toe Kick. And it looks like I forgot to do the back piece of plywood. And so let's rename that one too, and we'll just call that back plywood. So now I've got names for everything. I've got my whole shelf drawn. I don't really like seeing these yellow planes in there, so I'm going to turn that off. And there we go. There is our bookshelf, okay? And so what I'd like you guys to do now to turn this in is, number one, you want to make sure you save it. And I'm going to save mine. I've got a folder going for woodworking tutorials. But I'm going to call this Fusion 360 Woodworking Part 2. And you guys may want to put your name in there now. Grady. I'm going to throw tutorial. You guys don't need the tutorial part. Alright, so there's mine now saved. And now to turn this in, I need you just to do me one favor. Over here on Bodies, right-click on Bodies. And we want all of these. So I'm going to click this first one, hold down Shift, click the bottom one, and everything turns blue. I'm going to right-click on that whole selection, turn my properties on so that that's showing. And now with that, I can click off of it, turn it back to gray. And we'll go down here to this snipping tool. If you guys don't have this on your computer, you just go right here and you type in snipping tool. We'll bring that to life. We're going to click new. And then I can select, whoops, didn't work, there we go. And you'll take a screenshot of this whole entire thing and turn in that screenshot, and then you'll have your properties showing. I would like you to have your bodies showing for that screenshot so that I can see that you made these bodies correctly. And then that's how you will get full credit for this drawing. All right, thank you.